Hey, how's it going? Zuko here, and today we're going to be talking about the September pre-order roundup. We're just going to be talking about the newest figures you can now purchase in September, and I'm going to give you my opinion on all of them. Now, if you've been keeping up with these videos, lately I've been doing tier lists, and I actually did one for this month. But unfortunately, it got corrupted. Yay! So I have a couple of options here. I could, one, just scrap the video, but I'm here right now, so we're definitely doing something. Two, I could just make the entire thing over again from scratch, but it's a little disheartening and honestly very time consuming to make this kind of video. Or three, I could just go back to the old way I used to do it, except this time with a webcam. And I know not doing the tier list is a bit disappointing for some people, but you know, after you lose like hours of work and you're already pretty late on the video as it is, I think ultimately this would be the best choice as it'll make the best video, as I won't be so stressed out while making it. But trust me, we still have a ton to talk about this month, as I've gathered around 80 or more figures that I felt were at least notable enough to inform you guys about. So I think this will still be a pretty long video, and I hope you guys still enjoy it either way. But this intro has been going on long enough, let's just finally start talking about some figures. I can't believe we're getting 2 Marin figures from Aniplex in 2 months. That's pretty nuts, but if you ask me, I think this is the better between the two. And it's mostly just because of her endearing smile. Like, it was attempted last time as well, but I feel like this one really hit the mark, whereas the previous one did not. But even outside of that, this figure's really interesting because you also get an entire setting to go with it. Basically set up in Gojo's room, you get the futon, her clothes are folded up, the bag on the floor, and the pillow. It feels very complete, and I definitely like the way they sculpted her hair. It's very voluminous. So yeah, I wouldn't blame you if you bought this one. I might still hold out for the Max Factory or the Good Smile Company one, whichever one I find to be the best, but hey, this one is very good as well. Ashige-chan, the Lucky Dealer version. Now, before we get started, this image is misleading. This is not the base, this is the base. Still looks nice, but it's not an entire poker table, okay? But I do think she is very cute. I'm not very familiar with this artist, but I like what I'm seeing. Now, for some reason, she's got a horseshoe on her chest. I don't understand why, but as for her chest, it looks very soft, and I like the way she's squishing up against it with her arm. Can't say I dislike that. Also a big sucker for painted nails, and she's got black and pink nails, so just double the fun for me. Don't understand the bat wings though. It's not like there is a vampire or succubus theme on any other part of this figure, but it's cute. I don't mind it, just don't really understand it. Apparently you can also switch out the cards for a wine glass, though I don't think it looks particularly that nice, but probably from afar, it's fine. Apparently she's also got a tail. I thought that was just her hair from the front, but alright. And she lost her shoes, or she just never brought them. Maybe she just lost them during the first poker game. I don't know, but I guess you get cute feet instead. Oh, you know what? She's a horse. I didn't realize that. She has horse ears, and that would certainly explain the horseshoe and the carrots. Alright, well, I like her even more now. I like horse girls. This is a really cute design, I gotta say. Speaking of horse girls, we also have Mejiro Mcqueen from Uma Musume, my favorite series to just shovel down your gullet. I hope you enjoy it, because I'm gonna keep doing it. Anyway, I don't think there's actually that much to say. She is cute, I like her lavender hair, and I appreciate the costume designs of these girls. They like really formal, regal attire, but then you also get like a school skirt, and she looks like she's having a blast. She is very cute. This figure also apparently has a grassy base, not unlike Melia, who I reviewed, and I did like the way they did the grass, so I bet this will look good as well. Just that Good Smile Company quality you can expect. She looks adorable, and I bet she's going to turn out really well. The Hatsune Miku vampire figure pop-up parade is a bit of a bummer in my opinion, because I love this design, I like the Deco 27 song, and I still think this is a cute figure. But because it's a pop-up parade, they had to ditch certain details, mainly on her ears. She had a ton of piercings on the original art, and they're just nowhere to be seen. It's just one of those things, like we don't get a lot of Miku figures based on songs, and now that we do, we get not a half-assed, but just not like a fully featured, realized version of that design of Miku. And it's so distinct and cute, and it just bums me out because I was planning to buy this, but now I'm not sure. But at the very least, she is really cheap, so maybe I'll just buy her down the line, I don't know. Dude, I cannot believe that Intelligent Systems will just drop these Fire Emblem figures on us without any hesitation. We got both Roy and Lilina this month out of nowhere. And I think they look great. They look so saturated, which I do like their color palettes are so bright and vibrant that it really reminds me of the Game Boy Advance where these characters originate from, because those screens were so bad that they would usually like overcompensate with the colors to make sure that you could see them. And I just love it. I love the red and blue and the gold trim. I think Roy looks awesome, honestly. A little bit younger than what I'm used to, but that's just because of Smash. I think he's supposed to look like this. He's a pretty young character, right? And the binding blade in his hand looks sick. I think that is an awesome looking sword design. Lilina, who I don't know, is a real cutie. I like this figure as well. Both figures have very dynamic poses, and I love the way the flame is just circling her body. It's very similar to Byleth, though not nearly as good in my opinion, but I do like that the book is on fire, and I don't know if you can read that book, but I like that they bothered to put all those like little symbols and text on it. But the problem with these figures are the bases. Now, these are supposed to go together. Here's a nice image of them together. Looks great. And their bases look like this. Very similar, right? A nice royal rug on top of a castle floor. But the problem lies here. What the fuck is this? Like, why did they design it like this? I like the way they look on their own, but you can't let them align anymore. There's a gigantic triangle in between them. Even just like swapping the characters from left to right would probably fix this issue if they were worried about overlapping. But man, as it stands, you need to like put something there now to make it look like one big rug. A big old piece of triangle plastic, some Doritos in there, do that thing where people pour in rice and then like sand over it or something. It really is like the one flaw of this figure outside of the price tag, which I haven't mentioned yet. 29,700 yen each, and they are limited. They got tired of overproducing these things and letting them just hit the bargain bin every time. So yeah, prepare your wallet if you want either of these two or both. I might get Roy. Not sure about Lilina just because I don't know her, but I do think they look great. Okay, let's take a quick detour to talk about a couple of re-releases really quickly, starting off with the CC Bare Leg Bunny version. Now, I know you're not getting any stockings on this figure, but I think you could see the appeal of this one even without stockings, right? Her butt looks gigantic and quite lovely. So, I would suggest go getting this if you like her, as the aftermarket on the original one is pretty damn high. There are also bare leg bunnies for Yun Yun and Darkness if you missed out on them. Something about their thighs look really squishy, like you want to just give them a squeeze as you do. But yeah, hey, Konosuba getting more bunnies. Nothing wrong about that. But yeah, moving on, we also have the Kana Kimono figure. I think this one has been re-released like 2 or 3 times at this point. Very popular, I guess. They keep putting it out, so you never have to worry about like the aftermarket on this one. And I do think this is a very colorful and cute figure. Not too expensive, though definitely smaller than you might expect, as she is a very tiny character, even at the 1/7 scale. Both versions of St. Louis were re-released, which is a pretty big deal, I think, because a lot of people regretted not buying them. Both of them just skyrocketed on the aftermarket, so now you can get them for retail, and the light equipment version is still extremely cheap. And the last one is actually a recolor of Mimi from SkyTube, the Saitom girl. Now, I don't own the original version, but I gotta say, I love this lavender and gold combo. That shit goes real hard, in my opinion. And the inside of the coat is also lined in a really pleasant blue. I've heard this figure has problems, though. Like, once you cast it off, it kind of just breaks or something. So I would look into that if you're interested in her. That's kind of why I haven't pre-ordered this yet. But I do think she looks great from what I'm seeing, and honestly might be one of my favorite figures of this month. Speaking of favorites though, another one of mine is the Tana Chinese dress version. Now this is a little devil girl who's fallen down, she's in a Chinese dress, and I'm pretty sure she's working in a Chinese restaurant of sorts. And I think this one's just precious looking on its own, but there's a couple of things I love about this. One is the dumplings. They're actually just skulls. If we turn the figure around a little bit, you can see that one has a bite taken out of it. And that's just ingenious. It's such a unique idea too, and it's really surprising I've never seen it before. But I love the fact that they just thematically made skulls food. The other thing though are her eyelashes, and I may need to find some more images of it, but if I scroll through, great image. If I scroll through, you could see that there is a lot of detail for her eyelashes, which is really uncommon. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that I fucking love this detail, and it just elevates her so much more than if this wasn't part of the figure. She's really cute on her own, but the fact that they just put in eyelash detail, like to this degree, is just great. So yeah, I think she's adorable, and she's not that expensive either. She's around 20,000 yen. I mean, if you get it for that price, that seems like a steal. Angel Cop. We just talked about Angel Cop last month, actually, but now we have Pink Charm making one instead of Union Creative. Now, this is a cast-off figure, which is already a huge selling point compared to the other one, but I think just overall, she looks a lot cuter, especially the face, and I think the lack of the blue gradient kind of makes her look a bit softer now that I'm thinking about it. But she also has angel wings this time, which is just super cute, and her base is a handcuff, which is very fun. I just think overall this one has a bit better sculpting to it, and probably is the better purchase, though she is a lot more expensive to compensate, I guess, for all the extra work. So, you know, if you like this design, you got two choices now. I don't know which one to go for, but I like this one better. Echidna in a wedding dress is actually not that different from what we're used to seeing Echidna wear, in my opinion, but I do think she looks nice. I love the, like, copious amounts of wrinkles on the bottom portion of the dress, and it seems like it's a pretty skin-tight dress by the belly button, so that's pretty cool. I do like the colors of the flowers, though I wish they didn't look so flat, or maybe had some more detail, because they're right by her face, and you're always going to notice that when you look at her, so that kind of bothers me a little bit. I guess the only other thing of note is, like, the name of the series on the base. I feel like that's really distracting on a wedding dress figure of all things, and I kind of wish it wasn't there. It doesn't ruin the figure, but it definitely doesn't enhance it, and it would probably look a little better without it. You know what bums me out? Figures like this, where I love 95% of it, but that 5% I don't just ruins the entire thing for me. Because I genuinely think this is one of their better sculpts, for the most part. I think the way they colored this one looks gorgeous, especially her wings, but like the blue roses and the vines and the leaves and the water droplets, the grapes, all these little details are just coming together extremely well. The composition of this one is super strong, but I really hate her face, like, a lot. I can't get over how much I dislike the mouth on this figure. I know she's like chomping on some grapes, but I'm sure they could have done it a little bit better than they did here. And yeah, it just kind of ruins the whole thing. And I feel bad saying that, because objectively, I think all of this is really nice, but I would never want to buy this now, because I just don't like the face of Gwendolyn, the character that I'm buying a figure for, so I can't do it for 40,000 yen. Maybe if it was a little cheaper, I would be able to justify it, but right now, I can only appreciate how much effort they put into this thing, and then just kind of squandered it right there. Whew, okay, this is the Arknights Schwarz figure by Alter. Probably their most ambitious figure to date. And if you're a fan of Arknights, hell, even if you aren't, then you're probably salivating over this one. Because look at it. It's enormous. It's stunning looking. It's one of the best figures I've seen all year. And I'm a little nervous when I stare at it because I'm not sure if it's got like the longevity in mind. Is the structural integrity there? Like, this is a character who is suspended in midair, only really being held up by one foot and a peg on the right side of her body. But like, there is a lot of plastic on this figure. She's holding onto a gigantic and super intricate, super sick looking crossbow that's gotta weigh a decent amount, right? But I don't really want to be all doom and gloom. Like, this is something to celebrate, even if I'm trying to be realistic about it, right? This is beautiful. It's one of the few figures where I absolutely love the application of translucent plastic. That's just a personal bias of mine. But like, I think the colors on the wind effects and the jacket looks almost realistic. I think even her hair has some like translucent bits to it. But these photos are so zoomed in and not focusing on her hair under like specific lighting that I can't really show that anymore. I remember seeing it a long time ago, or a couple months back rather, but here, not so much. Her face is gorgeous though. Honestly, I could do without all of this figure. I just love this face, and the hair shading looks phenomenal. And another thing that I know I've mentioned before, but I just love like the dirt texturing that they've applied to her outfit, mostly like on her chest, just because I guess you'll see it more often than on the pants. But it is cool and very impressive looking, just like everything on this figure. But yeah, I think that about sums up the main points on this one. This is a gem of the year, not even the month. It's that impressive, right? And if you can afford this for like 45,000 yen plus however much is going to cost to ship, it's not going to be cheap, I'll tell you that, then I'll probably be pretty jealous of it. But hey, make a nice YouTube video about it, and I'll be sure to check it out. Alters Azuma's soft voice of spring version is another gorgeous figure from the company, right? It really emphasizes the main selling points of this figure. I think her dress is gorgeous and the way it wraps around her body, and especially the color. I love the color of this dress and her hair against her orange eyes. I just think the color combinations on this one are gorgeous. But the more interesting thing about this figure, in my opinion, at least to talk about, is the furniture piece. This really interesting shelving unit, or whatever it's supposed to be, is really neat, and I like it. And you can opt out to just not buy this for a cheaper version of Azuma, but I don't really think that's worth it. But on the other hand, you can also switch this out for a mirror to appreciate her chest, right? And I get it, though I feel like you're missing out on a lot of like the design and the composition of this one, that I don't really like the mirror in the end. Now, on top of that, you also seem to get a swappable chest piece. Here we have her bra all buttoned up, and then you can see that you can unbutton it somehow. I don't know how this works, and it totally changes the way her chest looks. For the better, for the worse, you tell me. I don't know, I like it this way. This is an amazing figure, as are most Alter Azur Lane figures, right? They don't really miss with these. I can't believe it, dude. How is Licorne asking 5,000 yen more than Anzu or Karari from last month? It's been 1 month, and they're charging this much more for a figure without an interesting base like those two did. But I'm gonna leave it at that, because I honestly do love this one. It's one of my favorites of the month, and honestly maybe even one of my favorite Halloween figures ever. It's actually focusing on the trick-or-treating aspect of Halloween, which I find to be just adorable. The whole pumpkin basket's full of candy, she's got a bunch of lollipops in her hands, there's some more candy in the other hand you can see, and the whole design of it, the purple and black and orange aesthetic, it's just so good. The striped stocking, one of them's ripped, the boots are really cute, I think there's like a candy bead thing around her waist, right? Like, yeah, I understand. This one is full of beautiful details. Like, everywhere you look, there is something awesome to appreciate. But I feel like I've also seen tons of Idolmaster figures nowhere near this price tag unless they had some giant base to go along with it. She's only a 1/7 scale, and 33,000 yen is a ton to ask for. But if you have the money, you're gonna get one damn cute Halloween-themed Idolmaster girl. This one's pretty interesting, the Mako Hitachi 1 3/5 scale. Just a weird scale to make figures in, but it's also really reasonable price-wise, and the idea behind this one is like a ninja girl undressing. She's got some battle damage. I like the design of her bra, and like you can see down here, like parts of her scarf is ripped. But if I scroll all the way down, you could see that this is also a cast-off. So for that price and at this size, I feel like you're getting a really good value if you like the design of this girl. Look at this Asanagi Vixen Foxgirl. She is so bodacious. Now, I don't like the shawl that's around her. I never really do on figures, but you could totally just take that off if you don't like it. And then you get to appreciate her even more, if you catch my drift. I do like the fact that she's holding onto a pipe and a fan. Something about that really makes her feel even more mature than her, I guess, body would imply. And her face, you know, Asanagi eyes definitely hit different. But I also like the fact that she's kind of sticking her tongue out. Very cunning. Is there anything else to really talk about with this figure, though? Her dress is really sexy. Her hair, like, reaches all the way to her ankles. I should have pre-ordered this, but I didn't because it was only open for, like, 2.5 weeks. That was such a small pre-order window, it was ridiculous. I feel bad even talking about this, but, like, you might be able to find this somewhere else if you didn't know this existed. Hemet Nethel looks awesome. I love the design of this one. The Anubis helmet, just, oh man, that's so up my alley. And I think the colors on this one are gorgeous. The black and the gold and the brown skin and the pink hair, man, that's so good. And I love the design of her staff. It's so cool. Like, I don't even really know how to describe it, but I love like the spiraling wires that are going around like the bottom of it to the top. Just is a super neat idea. Now, I do think she looks way worse without the helmet on. Would never display this figure without the helmet. But that's like the only complaint I have, other than the fact that like this is very expensive for a kind of boring pose. Like, I wish she was a little bit more dynamic. It makes it feel like the design is going to waste a little bit. They're only focusing on how awesome it is, like conceptually, and how beautiful she looks, but she could be doing something badass. And that would totally make me buy this like instantly. But there is a bit of like boringness to her sculpt that I can't get over, but I still think this is like a 9 out of 10 easily, just because of how nice like all of it looks. Elf has a really interesting armor design. Like, I never noticed that it's only on her back, and then the shoulder pads are being supported by metal rods, making them look like they're floating in the air. It's very, like, futuristic or video gamey, which maybe is the point. Kind of reminds me of, like, Phantasy Star, I guess. Or maybe I'm only thinking that because the main character loves the Sega Genesis. I don't know, but I do find her to be cute. I like the design of her dress with all that, like, silver trim, and her weird red shoes. I like them as well. Damn, Kaworu, that is a nice looking flannel shirt, and in black and yellow. I don't think this company could have possibly chosen a better color combination for this figure. He is super smug. This pose where he's walking down the runway is fantastic for this guy, and I think the fit is on point. Though I think the way they did the texturing on the jacket is a little bit too rough. Asuka did have the same thing, but because it's only one color of black, it looks a little bit worse in my opinion, though that is a little bit of a nitpick. The other thing though, that I just noticed right now, is that the inside of the flannel shirt is actually not patterned, which is not how flannel shirts really work. So that is odd. Now, they did make a monochrome version of this as well, and in my opinion, it might even be better because, like, he has silver hair. The figure barely looks like a monochrome figure, and if you like those colors more, then that might be the better one for you. The other thing is that they also re-released the Part 1 version of him, so if you missed out on that figure, you can now pick that up as well for a really cheap price. Look at how cute these little chickies are. They're going to school. They have little baby backpacks and tiny little hats. That is so cute. And they also come with an anime girl. So this is the Suruga straight-faced model student version. We don't get a lot of school uniform Azur Lane figures from what I recall, but there is another one in this video I'll get to shortly. She looks good. I'm not in love with it, but she definitely looks good. I do dig the stockings, very nice, and I think her hair looks great, especially on like the top of her head. This gradient is absolutely beautiful. I love this color, and honestly her eyes are really pretty as well. It's also pretty funny that she's just like carrying around this battleship piece as like a bag around her arm. She also has horns, which I dig, and then like habaneros in her hair, which is interesting. But yeah, she's solid. I like her. The right person might like her more than me, but those baby birds are just like so precious. Furyu's Yor took a while to come out compared to the other two figures, and I don't really like it that much. I think her dress looks okay, kind of in line with like Furyu quality in my opinion, but I hate her face. I don't feel like this face is Yor to me. She looks a little cross-eyed in my opinion, and a little derpy. I don't like it. This angle specifically makes this figure look very bad in my opinion. You can line them up with the other figures if you buy them. You get this big stone blocky piece of plastic down here. But yeah, I just don't like this. It's kind of a boring pose, and I just really don't like the face. It's a bit too dull. I get a laugh out of it every time. This figure is still called the Ryza changing clothes mode, even in Japanese. They don't even have a word for it. They just say mode. But yes, this is Ryza changing her clothes, and frankly, I love it. I didn't think I would, but now that it's here, I think she looks fantastic. From a cultured standpoint, very understandable, right? Soft looking, wonderfully toned body, awesome curves, right? Her face is a bit of a different expression from what we usually get with Ryza figures, because I guess you kind of caught her in the moment and she's like staring at you. Pretty cute. Hair looks great. I love the shading on the hair. But my favorite thing about this figure is actually, well, besides the squish of her thigh right there, is the base. And I can explain. It essentially is so well shaded that it looks like the early hours of the day, like the sun is just starting to shine in through the window. It really like sets the tone of this figure, and it's pretty damn impressive for a wooden floorboard. But yeah, I mean, it's Ryza. There's a million Ryzas. Don't know if I want to buy this, because they're always going to make Ryza, and I have limited income, but I think she's gorgeous. Really reasonable for the price too, though I guess she is like 80% naked, so I guess there's not that much to sculpt, but either way, excellent. I can't get over how happy this Neptune figure looks. She's just so infectiously full of joy that I feel happy when I see this figure. Now, this is not a wedding figure, technically. It doesn't say that anywhere on the page, but I mean, you look at it, it looks like a wedding figure. And honestly, I don't feel like I need to comment on the dress because it just looks like a really good wedding dress, right? But the interesting details on this figure are the cluster of crystals she's standing on, which is really cool. The wings on her back, a little different. I guess you could see some wedding dress figures have that, but I haven't in a bit. And then you get the giant sword with the bouquet on the hilt. It's just awesome. There's a lot of little things here that are making this figure not feel like any other wedding dress figure. And I really do enjoy this one. The like blue undertones on the white dress and the wings just looks really well painted as well. It's a very pleasant, soft figure to look at. And the purple hair and the purple eyes just really complement the rest of the color palette. Very inviting, very playful, very cheery. It's a little expensive, but I mean, what wedding dress figure isn't when you're dealing with all this plastic? I mean, yeah, this figure just looks really good. And as I zoom in on the photos, definitely could see that they did not skimp out on the details on her wedding dress either, so yeah, I think this one's a good. You should get it if you like Neptune or wedding dress figures, I guess. Alright, so get this. In a world where every company makes Kento Nanami in the exact same pose, Estream does the exact same thing, but hey, at least this time we get a pretty cool trailing effect piece and a nice looking base. And I also like the fact that there's some blood on it, kind of telling a story like he just killed some demons, and he's getting ready to step up and kill something even bigger, right? It actually looks really nice, in my opinion. Specifically, this like trailing effect that they've got on his knife. I think he looks a little stiff, especially when compared to the Mega House version, but this overall does look better than the Mega House version, in my opinion. And the only other issue I really have with this figure is that it's 33,000 yen. It's very expensive. Estream will never make another affordable Jujutsu figure ever again after Gojo, I guess, which is sad, but what can you do? At least, you know, Kento looks solid, and if you're a big fan, you know, might be very tempting. Inumaki also went up for pre-order as well this month, and I've talked about him before, but I feel like the idea of this figure kind of hurts the composition a little bit. So much of it is just blue plastic. And I don't think it necessarily looks that cool, right? Like, compared to the Kento figure that had a really cool stylized trailing effect, this feels like something you would get with like a model kit or a Bandai figure. Like, I'm just not really thrilled at the execution. And I think it's like a hard concept in general, just making him scream and having a cool shockwave. It just obscures too much of his body, which I think, you know, is kind of a problem, as this is, in my opinion, one of his best figures so far, if not his best, in terms of like the actual body and character of Inumaki. I think his face looks great. I think the shading on his outfit looks very good. And I don't mind the fact that he's just on a giant log. It does feel in universe, even if it is just a giant tree trunk, so it's cool. I don't got a problem with that. But yeah, for the same exact price, I do think Kento Nanami is a little bit better. And I don't think it's worth displaying this without the giant effect piece, so I don't really know what you would do with this figure if you didn't, you know, like this piece. Dude, I love these next two figures. The fashion is on point with these girls. Here we have Luminous Star and Platonica. Now, you don't need to buy them together, but they're absolutely enhanced if you do. And the price tag is not that bad if you decide to get both, but we'll get to that in a second. These girls are wearing very like trendy, modern, contemporary clothing. And I just love the style of both of them. Even though they're very different, they still really work well with each other, and they're adorable. I think I slightly like Luminous Star a little bit more just because of her outfit, this charm on her bag. And both of these figures have this, but like the way they made the wrinkles and shadows on their clothing just looks, I don't know, just really, really well done. Even though like the skirt here might seem a little stiff. Not the biggest deal because the rest of the outfit is so well sculpted anyway. I also really like their proportions, strangely enough. Like, they're very normal, very realistic. And while I'm not normally looking for that in anime figures, I think for them, it works perfectly. Now, as you can see, they're finally together, and if you do decide to do that, they can link their pinkies. That is the cutest shit ever. Totally justifies the purchase. But here's the thing. If you buy these two figures, or I guess either one, you get a bonus. And the bonus is their hat. You actually get a replica of their hat. Now, they don't show it. There's just like a picture here to show you that, yes, you will get a hat with this figure if you buy it. Both if you buy both. That's awesome and makes me want to buy it even more. So, yeah, beautiful looking figures. Love the fashion sense of them. And a really sick bonus that makes the price tag even more desirable, I guess. Like, pretty damn good deal. Dude, I just don't get it. Like, I like Ichika, but I didn't really like the prototype. I thought it was the most boring of the 5 girls. But now that I'm looking at her painted, I might think she's one of the best. And I'm pretty sure I said the exact same thing about Nino. It just feels so easy to win me over with these figures. You put the cute anime girl in trendy, fashionable winter attire, and it just automatically works. I mean, props to the artist who made these outfits in the first place, because without them, we wouldn't have these beautiful figures. But Good Smile Company really just nailed every single one. I really like how mature Ichika looks here. She always does, right? But it's really, like, exemplified here, especially with the coffee for some reason. I don't even like coffee, but I think it adds to this figure in a really charming way. So, another banger for September, and one that, like, anyone can afford. Like, it's almost, like, $120 or something. It's crazy. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about this figure that's just not impressing me anymore like it originally did in its prototype phase. Like, I like Shaltir, I appreciate that this looks very provocative and seductive and whatnot, but I don't know, just the way they did her corset and her veil and even her hair just kind of only looks okay. And she's a really small character too, so for 27,000 yen, I would definitely expect a little bit more. Now there's also Albedo to talk about, who I think turned out a little bit better. And that's an interesting leg position to have her in. I guess you'll get a little treat if you ever buy this figure and turn your attention towards her legs. But I like the way they airbrushed the wings to be a little bit red. Probably my favorite part about this figure is the way they did the wings. And I definitely like her face and the way her tongue is sticking out. I mean, I like that about Shaltir as well, but I'm just, repeating because the same thing, I like it here too. You can buy these two together, actually, if you want to, and you'll get the special base. You won't get the base if you don't do this. Instead, you'll only get the red fabric. I mean, this base isn't like super impressive looking or anything. You could skip out on it, I guess, but if you're gonna get both, you might as well get the special set either way just to have everything, and you get your options that way. Satoko Hojo as a high school student. I feel like they've been teasing this figure for a very long time, and it's nice that we finally have it. Because it's a high school figure, I don't have necessarily that much to say about it. I do like the Watanabe Akio art style, so I think this figure is very cute and very vibrant. I like the colors on it. But yeah, the most interesting thing about it is towards the end, where we get to see some optional parts, if I can find the images. We get a new arm holding a camera, a winking face, and a hand holding piece. And you know what that means? We're getting a Rika figure. And they actually teased this very recently. We don't have the sculpt yet, but I'll put on the screen the artwork right now. She looks very cute, and I'm excited to see how these two look paired up next to each other, and just her figure in general. I bet it's going to look very cute. Azur Lane Zuikaku by Mimeyoi, the next one forth from the company. And I definitely like, the Prince of Wales and the Duke of York a little bit more than her. Definitely more interesting designs, but I understand the appeal of Zuikaku, and I'm sure she's gonna fly off the shelves as soon as people get this in their hands. So yeah, awesome figure. Looking forward to seeing people's reviews of it. There's also 2 Rem figures to talk about if you're not fatigued on the character just yet. The first one was the Magical Girl Rem. I like the fact that she has a wand. I don't think I've seen the wand before. I've always seen her with the spike ball, and I know I've commented before that I just love the fact that it makes a heart. Just a really cute idea, and really fits that magical girl theme. I like that the handle has a ribbon. I think the wand also has a ribbon, so I guess that's implying that the wand is turning into the ball and chain. So that's interesting. Cute face too, and I like the, blue palette of this figure. She's always gonna have blue, but whatever, I like it here. The other one was the Rem Aqua Orb figure, and I'm a little mixed on this one. I think conceptually it is nice, but I don't think the accessories that go along with it are really stunning in any way. I think she looks good. I like the way that her dress is flowing as if she's underwater, though I wish that was kind of carried over into her hair. There's nothing really like that on her hair. But the orb also looks pretty good, the way it's kind of like breaking apart and showing her inside of it. But the coral, all that stuff, the fishies, I feel like that's stuff I could have gotten in like something at Kmart, like when I was a kid. Like my mom let me buy like an ocean play set, and then I would like, play around with the pieces with my fishies. That's all I can really think about when I see these like little fish and the coral, so like, I don't know. She's good looking, but not immediately impressive for the 33,000 yen price tag that Furyu is asking for. Kotobukiya actually put out 2 really good figures in my opinion, starting off with Nakiri Ayame from Hololive. Now, these Hololive girls always have great designs, but this one's an Oni girl, and I like Oni girls. And I think her kimono looks sick. The colors on it, the design of it, the ropes kind of just like on her back, and the giant katana just looks awesome. Plus, she's also got an Oni mask and a bunch of flame spirits like behind her. It just looks sick. I think Kotobukiya did a great job painting and like sculpting this one, and she looks adorable. Rixia Mao from the Kisake series is the other Koto figure I want to mention really quickly. I've not played these games, but it doesn't stop me from appreciating this character design. She looks like a badass. I absolutely love what they did with this figure. The fact that they just emphasize that she can wield this gigantic sword with one arm, like she's Ike or something, is just super sick. I also just really dig her costume as well. It's like a mix of, you know, metal armor and then like a Chinese dress. It's super sick and elegant and sexy, and this character looks pretty damn awesome. So yeah, I think they got a winner on their plate here, and I'm sure if you're a fan of this series, you probably have already pre-ordered this. Hopefully I don't regret it if I play this game late in my life and this becomes hard to find. Elena in casual clothes is a pretty damn cute idea. I feel like I've only seen her in witch attire. But it's unfortunate that Union Creative is making this, because it's probably not going to turn out that great. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I find this to be pretty damn cute conceptually. I like this sweater. I like the color of this dress, and her boots are pretty damn cute. I like the color of them, I like the wrinkles on them, and the gold trim looks really nice. Now, I'm not very familiar with this character, but I feel like her face might look slightly off. I don't know, from what I'm used to seeing, maybe it's not exactly right, though. I'm just gonna leave that as like a side note. Could totally be wrong there. But yeah, cute concept. Likely won't turn out that great, unfortunately, but can't win them all. I can't help but feel like everything went wrong with this figure, and that might sound like an exaggeration, but why is her skin so shiny along with her hair? There's just like a cheapness to this plastic. And then if you look at her dress, there's like no definition or details or shading at all. Even her face comes across as really flat, and I just can't think of like a nice thing to say about this one. So on top of all of that, she's probably gonna lean. So like, I feel like you're way better off buying some other Raphtalia figure. Even if it was like a prize figure, you would save way more money than buying this one. Belfine put out a pretty weird looking kiss shot if you ask me. I am not a fan of this one. It is mainly due to her face. I do not like her eyes. They feel kind of off, maybe even misaligned. I'm not exactly sure. But then there's also this base with this one random bloodstream. It's like they couldn't think of anything else, so they just kind of slapped this on. It almost even looks like that with the way it's pegged in onto the base. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of good Shinobu and Kiss Shot figures out there, and this one's just not doing it for me. Okay, put it off for a little bit because I might get a bit negative here, but let's talk about some freeing figures. First up is the Mito Bunny version, and I don't like it that much, but I can explain why. Now, this is a very boob-focused figure, which is great. Very big, and they're on display for you to enjoy. But the problem is that there is a gigantic weld in the middle of her chest, if I can get a better picture of it, and that just doesn't look good. And I know this company can do better. They've done better. If that's gonna be front and center, I expect a little bit more. Second, I just don't like her expression. I don't feel like this is the expression Mito should have for a bunny figure. It just is kind of boring. Even if you put this on any character, I would probably find it to be pretty boring. And three, the most subjective point, is that I just don't think the color blue here is a great fit for her. It is a nice shade of blue. I think it is very vibrant and lovely, but I would rather see her in some other color. Not sure if camouflage would be too gaudy. I think even red would work better though, or a nice shade of green. I would probably have to like Photoshop this and then like test the colors myself to see what I would prefer the most. But yeah, I just don't really dig the blue on this one too much. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure this figure will sell really well regardless. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. This is a very strange reference to make from the movie. Like, I remember this scene specifically, but to make a figurine based on just this is so odd because I just don't feel like without that context this works. It just looks really boring. Whereas in the movie, it looks cool because he's just like killing some shit off screen and not giving a fuck about it. It doesn't really have that impact anymore. But I will say that like the effect pieces look awesome at the, cost of this being a 62,000 yen figure, which is really expensive. But I don't know, outside of some nice wrinkles and shading on his outfit, I don't think this price tag is something a lot of people are going to like be okay with. And I see this one selling pretty poorly, unfortunately. They also made a Geto figure, and this one looks way better. It's like the perfect pose and an amazing face to go along with it. Now, I don't think the effect pieces look anywhere near as good as Gojo's. In fact, I think they're pretty damn stupid looking. But I can forgive that because I think he looks very good here. Unfortunately, this is an 82,000 yen figure, which is crazy that he costs even more than Gojo. Like, I can't really hate on this figure. I think most of it was very well done. But Jesus, that is so much goddamn money to spend on one 1/4 scale. In my opinion, I think they should have made 1/7 scales of these two figures, and then I think more people would definitely have bought them. But right now, you definitely have pushed out a large audience of people who might have bought it by being way too expensive. But yes, I do think Geto looks really good here. Yeah, I'm gonna get some shit for this one, but I just don't really like this Rangiku swimsuit figure. And it's because her face just doesn't really look like Bleach's art style to me, and it also looks very flat at the same time. Honestly, a lot of her body looks very flat. This whole figure's like color palette comes off as pretty flat, which is kind of funny because she's very busty and even has underboob to appreciate. But I don't know, like this is a very expensive figure for what it is, and I think Freeing could have done a lot better with it. The Junko Bunny is one that I really don't have to talk about because everybody likes this one. I've talked about it a lot before. I don't know what I could add here. I guess her back looks pretty good. I don't think I've ever said that before. But yeah, it hits that Danganronpa art style like perfectly. I love that she's got her boots on. That's kind of like the perfect pull to take from her character design, in my opinion. The two-tone bunny suit with the diamond cutout is really cool. And I like that her stockings have bigger holes. Why they decided to do that, I don't know, but it kind of makes me appreciate her legs a bit more than usual with these bunny figures, so thumbs up for that one. Hirosagawa is getting a bunny version as well, this time from Katakawa. She looks cute. A bit simple. I like that she has a chocolate heart behind her. I think the other character from this series did as well. The base is also very cute, and I like the color of her suit, but not much else to say about it. Could be good. It's a 1/7 scale, right? A little different. Moving on. Okay, we also got the Lycia bunny figure as well, and yeah, this is indeed a bunny figure. I don't really know what I could possibly say about this one. She is really standard, even for Freeing. But hey, if you like this character, then you got something cool coming your way. Nice. This Lilith figure, though, is definitely a contender for Best Bunny of the Month, though, because they've mixed a maid with a bunny, and her body looks incredible. Her base also is very sweet, with a pudding or flan with whipped cream and cherries on top. Just looks awesome. This is a figure, actually, though, that if you get it from the Metacost store, I think, you can get a bunch of swappable parts, like cat ears, a cat tail, and a different face. So you might want to look into that if you like this character design. I put a picture of it on screen right now if you're interested, and yeah. I'm going to start going a little fast for a couple of these remaining figures because this video is taking a very long time for me to finish. But this is Saichi Sugimoto, and I think Prisma Wing has yet again messed up the face on their figure. It's a cool idea. I like the bullets and the rations and the bag with the supplies behind him. The setting is very neat on this figure, but it all kind of comes crumbling down with this face. I just don't really like it. Not even very expressive, nor do I really think it looks like the character, so I don't know, kind of a dud in my opinion, but what can you do? This one's kind of weird because it's made by Pony Canyon. This is the other Azur Lane figure I was talking about earlier, and she's absolutely gorgeous from a prototype standpoint. I think they've definitely nailed it, and all those battleship pieces look sick on top of the gigantic katana that is behind her, and the way her hair is just flowing out just looks amazing as well. Like, I think there's a lot of good detail on this figure, and I like that she is an Oni girl, right? Like the horns, but Pony Canyon, I don't think they've ever made a figure. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's kind of concerning. I don't know how this will turn out because that is a random ass company to make a figure, and we can hope, right? We can hope this turns out good. And the prototype is definitely very like reassuring, but you know, you always got to be a little bit worried on these kind of things. Oh, we get to talk about Bomber Girl now, and my favorite girl from the series, Pine. I love this degenerate bullshit. Anyway, this is an adorable looking figure, and I absolutely love it. I really appreciate how Wave put her in her normal outfit instead of just like something very fan servicey like every other company does. I don't mind those, but it's kind of odd how we don't get figures of these characters in their normal costumes. But yeah, her costume is essentially like a magical girl creamsicle. It just is really cute to me. I mean, come on, do I gotta convince you? The bomb hat and the tiger backpack with that face? This is adorable. Also, because she has a tail and it's like a fuse, the way they did the sparks looks awesome. I really like this like little effect piece she has back here. But the best thing about this figure is absolutely her face. It is so smug, and the way they sculpted the teeth to come out of her mouth is perfect. This is like the best face I've seen in a long time. And I'm surprised that Wave made it, because they're kind of like a B-tier company in my opinion, but I'm pretty sold on this one. I was pretty surprised though that she also comes with a bonus faceplate that is also extremely cute, like just as good, but kind of doesn't work with the pose as well in my opinion. The only way I can kind of convince myself that this works is if like she was being smug and then something happened that caught her off guard, and this is like the frame one where she starts to like realize that she was caught being stupid or something. That's the only way I could see it. Still love it though. Might be my favorite figure of the month. I don't think it's yours, but I really, really, really love this one. I didn't even mention the cute ribbons on her tail and her shoes. Come on, there's so much here to appreciate. But we're gonna move on, because I could ramble all day about this one. I know there's significance behind it, but I kinda wish you didn't have to display this Rey figure with the doll. It looks too much like a potato, in my opinion, and it takes away from this figure's beauty a little bit for me. But that's totally subjective. This is a very long-haired Rey from the movie, of course, and as you would expect, the highlight of this figure is her hair. Though you don't get to really appreciate it from the front as much as you do from the back, because from the back, it's gorgeous. There are so many strands of hair, and the colors they've chosen to paint this figure are just amazing. I love the color towards the bottom of the base right here, where it's a very light blue. It's eye candy for me. I love it so much. There is very subtle creasing on her plug suit, which looks very nice when you focus on it, like by her arm over here and on her legs. But yeah, this figure also has like a really delicate, fragile, kind of innocent vibe to it. And I think for the most part, this is a nice, very good looking Rey figure. Just don't like the doll that much. This is a really cute Sophie figure from Wonderful Works, but it's a shame that it costs 33,000 yen. It's really conflicting, because when I look at it, I like it. I love her eyes, and the V mouth, and the shading on her hair looks amazing. And I think the creases, and the wrinkles, and the shadows on her dress, and her frills are top notch. But then you get like to the bottom of the base, and it's kind of underwhelming. And you would think if it's gonna cost this much money, they would do a little bit more with it. Maybe if there was more books on the rug, or some potions, or some ingredients, I could start maybe feeling a little bit better about this price. And it's also kind of interesting how they did the base in general. Like, I kind of like that the wood is poking through the rug, but also it's not like the rug would just consume the wood from this point on. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense, but they also have to portray it as being a big rug that goes past where it's showing. So it's just strange. I don't know. I'm not really the biggest fan of the way they did this base. It's an Atelier figure. There's always a ton of details packed into these character designs. And I think she looks fantastic, but I don't think she's as popular as someone like Ryza, so making someone pay 33,000 yen for her might be pretty difficult. It's always a treat when Good Smile Company gets to be a bit creative with their bases. Here we have Ars Notoria with one hell of a setup. Basically, a bunch of tomes are opening underneath her. I'm assuming she is casting some sort of spells, but either way, whatever the situation may exactly be, there's a bunch of smoke like billowing out from the tomes, and there's a lot of like really pretty looking green stars surrounding the entire thing. I love the design of them, but the books really are the highlight, as they're just like being torn apart as they open up and cast whatever magic is being brought onto this world. But then of course you also have Ars Notoria herself, who looks extremely cute. I think this is the artist behind ReZero, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, her face, she looks very sad, but it's also a very cute, innocent looking expression, right? But the outfit that she's wearing is also super cute. I love the big boots that she's wearing, and she's got this gigantic scarf around her that has this nice, long, contrasting piece of pink plastic that just really, you know, looks great against the white and like dark blue color palette of the rest of her body. Yeah, this figure is phenomenal. Just a very dynamic piece while also being extremely cute as well, thanks to the character design. Look how awesome this figure looks. Dark Schneider from Bastard, the new adaptation on Netflix at the moment, is just getting this like super edgy metal figure with like flames and this giant skull or stone demon that he's standing on. The whole outfit is just like black against his white ass hair that's flowing in the breeze, holding onto a gigantic bloody looking scythe, figure surrounded by fire, and apparently he's also got his ass out, so I guess he's just wearing chaps underneath like the waist piece that he's got on. Kind of sick, kind of sick. He's so energetic looking and chaotic. I love this one. I think overall, just like the composition that we are looking at right now is super sick. And this one is about 26,000 yen, which, I mean, this is a lot of plastic we're dealing with for a pretty big looking character, right? I think that's perfectly reasonable for what we're getting here. Shin Ari is also getting a figure from Bastard. Nowhere near as interesting, let's be real. It's really just focusing on how sexy this character looks in her very tiny dress. Like, it's kind of just hugging onto her butt cheeks for dear life on the back right here. And color palette wise, there's not that much here. The shading on the dress does look pretty good for being just a white, simple piece of cloth. But I do like that she's also holding onto some talismans. I think the design of them looks very cool. I love the art style of Bastard. You could really see it on the eyes. And if you ask me, I think her hair sculpt looks really good. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you don't really get a lot of figures with this amount of like hair strands on the fronts and like the top of the head. Normally it's reserved for like twin tails or very like long, voluminous hair sculpts. But here it's mostly focused on the top, and then you also get a bunch on the back of her head as well. So it's a really good looking hair sculpt if you actually focus on it, and it definitely helps justify the price in my opinion. How Apex is able to only charge 22,000 yen for a detailed figure like this is actually crazy. Genshin Impact's Zhao is getting a figure from the company, and it's really impressive looking, from the colors to the sculpting detail to this extravagant base with all these like ghostly looking spears just coming out of this stone piece of plastic, I suppose. It's really hard to not be impressed with this one, even if you don't play Genshin Impact like myself. I don't know who this character is, but this mask looks sick. The gold detailing on all of this figure looks sick. The jewelry on his neck and on his waist, just like all these little ornaments and detailing and colors just all pop in such pleasing ways. And it makes me a little jealous, I'm not gonna lie. But I know for a fact that Genshin Impact fans do not get male figures very often. Honestly, the entire like figure community doesn't get male figures very often. So I'm pretty happy that they're making this, even if it's not something I'm gonna buy, because man, this is one sick looking sculpt for a really reasonable price. How do you say this character's name? I'm gonna sound so stupid. Okay, Aya Fiala. That can't be right. Let's move on from that. Anyway, Arknights is getting this really pretty summer bikini outfit for this girl. And I keep looking at this lamb, this really cute lamb that is running alongside her in what I would assume is some kind of demonic looking water. It's red and purple. I don't know if she's causing that, but it's an interesting choice. And I think it's to the figure's benefit, as just like clear blue water would be kind of boring in my opinion. Though the sand is very pale. Again, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I kind of wish that was a different color. But I like this figure, even though it's very strange looking. Like, this part of her swimsuit almost looks like negligee to me or something. It's very interesting as far as the design goes. I love her staff, if I could find an image of it, just like adorned with a bunch of pretty flowers. She's also got a really crazy hair sculpt. It looks so messy, but I love it. The eyes and the eyelashes are so like mesmerizing to me. I really like the face on this one. She's adorable. Really cheap too. Again, Apex, just the kings of making really cheap figures that also look incredible. Even though this one has some like interesting things that I'm not 100% on board with, I do think she overall does look very pleasing. Okay, so we're finally going to start talking about the Nendoroids now. We have about 20 or so to go over. Some I will be spending way more time than others talking about. But first I want to go over one that kind of disappointed me, and that is Siegmeyer from Dark Souls. Now this should just be an instant pre-order for me, as I am a huge FromSoft fanboy. but I'm really not in love with the way they painted this guy. And don't get me wrong, I think there are nice things about this Nendoroid. The Pierce Shield looks good, the Zweihänder looks nice, his poses are, nice references from the game, as they should be, right? Makes a lot of sense to do that. But I just feel like he is so clean and flat and really unimpressive looking for a little Dark Souls-like figurine. And I know Nendoroids aren't known for their paint jobs or their high detailing or anything like that, but there's definitely a bit of expectations when it comes to Dark Souls figures, and this one is absolutely not meeting mine. I will point out that he does come with a Titanite slab, which is a cool bonus if you get him through the Good Smile store. But if you ask me, this figure of Siegmeyer that is coming out in October, unless it gets delayed of course, is the much better purchase in my opinion. Now, it's not posable, but it is a little bit bigger at 5 inches. It's a little bit cheaper. The Nendoroid is about 8,800 yen at retail. And it also just has exactly what I'm looking for. It's got all these dings in the armor. It's got all the rust and the crust and the must, and it's just exactly what I would expect his armor set to look like. It's exactly what his armor set does look like, because if you look at official pieces of artwork, you will see that this armor is not pristine. So yeah, I'm being really nitpicky on this one, but it's because I love this guy. I love this series, and it's just not meeting my expectations. Another one that kind of disappointed me too was King Dedede, and this is a bit more subjective. I'm just not the biggest fan of the art style chosen here for Dedede, because Kirby, Mennonite, and Waddle Dee are absolutely perfect Nendoroids, but I can't really say the same about Dedede. His character design changes every other game. They don't know what to do with this character anymore. But it still kind of bothers me that Good Smile Company chose this really generic looking version of him to represent the character. And as far as accessories goes, he gets his hammer, a couple of eyes and mouths, and I guess the most interesting accessory is this gigantic gaping maw, which is very funny, but I don't know, that's all you're really getting. If this isn't winning you over, then there's not much in this package for you. I feel like if I'm gonna buy this, it's out of obligation because I have every other Kirby Nendoroid, but that's not a good thing. That just means I'm an idiot. I feel the desire and need to complete a set, and if I don't get him, then there's a big hole in my collection. But I don't know, not really that bad. I just was expecting a little bit more after waiting so many years for this to finally happen. If you ask me though, I think the Klonoa Nendoroid came out perfectly. They did the boy complete justice. Just going through the images, I don't think I could think of anything else that I would add onto this guy. He's got the ring, he's got the wind bullet, he comes with 3 faceplates, which is kind of surprising for a Nendoroid that looks like this, posable ears, and even Hupo is joining in on the fun. Now, he does come with an exclusive Dreamstone, but this Nendoroid is exclusive anyway, so just don't buy this on AmiAmi. You're not going to save any money by doing so, really. And just get it at the Good Smile store, get the Dreamstone, just make it complete. Yeah, just super happy. This thing just makes me happy looking at him. The sculpt's great, it's unique, and it's very colorful, and I think it looks awesome. Another one that hits a personal soft spot is Rilakkuma. I think he looks adorable, and you really can't mess up this design, so I'm glad they didn't. Makes me a little sad that Rilakkuma is nowhere to be seen, and they will likely not get a Nendoroid, but hey, we at least get Kiratori, and I think overall this package is nice. A couple faceplates, an unpainted Dango, though most of the time you do see Rilakkuma with white Dango, so I can't blame them, but it still kind of looks unpainted. Bothers me slightly. But yeah, he looks great, he's cheap. One to get if you like Rilakkuma. I love the way they painted the hair on this Miku Nendoroid. It's basically like the figure that this one is based on, where her hair turned into water towards the bottom of the figure. They didn't do that here, but they did represent that with the blue paint on the tips. So I think that looks good. And honestly, this one looks pretty precious. I do like this Miku Nendoroid quite a bit, and it definitely has a unique vibe to it compared to some other Mikus we've been seeing. Do I need this? I'm really trying to cut back on Nendoroids, but I love Jill. I have her plushie back there, actually. I put it up for this video. I went back and forth on this one, kind of loving the announcement to not caring a little bit, back to falling in love with it again. I just feel like it just does everything I want. This faceplate's so good. The sisterly bonding ending faceplate, as they call it. It's a little expensive, but it is extremely cute. And I'm kind of a sucker for these niche Nendoroids, too. Plus her bartender outfit is just adorable in Nendoroid size. I might have to get this one. I think I'm gonna get this one. I'm gonna look for the cheapest place to buy it though, just to save some money. I gotta hand it to Metacost, man. They are keeping these Nendoroids from JoJo extremely cheap. Both Costello and Fu are 5,400 yen before any discounts. And I think they feel really complete. They have a lot of accessories and faceplates. You do have to go to the Good Smile shop to get pretty substantial bonuses. But I don't know, man. I look at these and I don't know their quality control, so maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. But they absolutely look like I think they should in Nendoroid form. And they actually have a ton of stuff to play with. And they're only 5,400 yen, which is $38 or something. That seems really reasonable for what they're offering. But yeah, let me know if their quality is crap or something, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, I think these are really damn good for the prices that they're asking. Shigure Yui has the cutest eyes I've seen on a Nendoroid, and also the scale from last month. I don't know why we're all of a sudden getting figures for this girl, but I'm here for it. I think both of these look fantastic. Now, the best thing about this one is the gigantic pen you get with her. It is so silly. It's the size of a normal pen. If that had ink, I could just use it. There's also this faceplate as well with the spiral eyes, just extremely adorable as well. I guess it just goes to show you how strong her character design is, or I'm just a big fan of it, because I love both of these figures. I cannot believe how long it took to finally get some Dragon Maid Nendoroids, but it makes me really happy that Toru and Kana are finally up for pre-order. And we actually did talk about this a couple weeks ago, so I don't have that much to add here. They are both extremely cute. We saw most of Toru last time, but the winking face is new, along with the piece of her tail served on a platter. And I do love this winking expression. It feels perfect on this Nendoroid. As for Kana, they did something a little weird. They referenced the scene where she eats the crab, which is funny, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, it almost feels like they couldn't think of anything better. But at the same time, how many Nendoroids come with a setup where you can eat a crab? You know what I mean? It's still unique, but it also feels strange to me. Also, I think their designs are based off of the manga, which is why they're a little bit different, but I don't mind that at all. They're still extremely adorable. The other Nendoroids that we got were Twin Turbo, who looks good, though unfortunately only really comes with the jumping fence. I feel like that's kind of boring. At the very least, they should have added an effect piece for her running, if they were going to focus on that part of the character. But I love her expressions, I love those stupid eyes, and the Splatoon-ass colors and the blue twin tails still look very good. Nendoroid Nakiri Ayame. Pretty much the same thing I said about the scale. I just love her outfit. Very vibrant, very interesting, especially on a Nendoroid. There's a lot of detailing here that's, honestly, it makes it surprising that this is only 7,200 yen, where we've seen much more expensive Nendoroids this month with less detail, in my opinion. You get the XD face, you get this little creature down here. I don't know its name because I don't watch her, unfortunately. And even two swords. She looks awesome. Nendoroid Chisato is probably the most standard Nendoroid I've seen this month. That's not a bad thing. I just feel like it's very expected what you get here and the faceplates, and there's not really that much to talk about. What you see is really what you get. Nendoroid K from Classroom of the Elite. Now, I've not seen this show, but the art style of this girl reminds me of old school eroge or visual novels. I don't know why. That's just the vibe I get. I like the fact that her hair is a light blue at the tips. It's very interesting considering that she is a blonde character. That's a cute accessory, the Doki Doki heart. And then this one is kind of depressing. I don't know what's going on in this scene. Maybe someone dropped a bucket on her head and she got wet or something. But it's definitely unique, which I like. Ana from Shaman King is another one like Chisato where, it's pretty standard. What you expect to get is what you are going to get, except for the fact that she comes with a slapping face for Yo. So if you have that Nendoroid, you could do this specific scene with it. I never know how to feel about that. It's fun that you get stuff to do with both Nendoroids, but if you only had Ana, then this is a waste. And I'm the kind of person who would only buy Ana, so that's just going to be a waste of plastic for me. Strength from Dawnfall is one of those Nendoroids where it's technically good. I think the arms look pretty impressive, but I'm so nostalgic and biased towards the old Strength design that this one, I don't know, it doesn't really do anything for me. And I just want to be honest about that. Valentine is such a weird pick from Skullgirls to make into a Nendoroid. Yes, she's very popular, but certainly there are more fitting choices. but I do think they did a great job with her. But I'll never get over the fact of, like, booby Nendoroids. I just think it looks weird every time. And Valentine is a very busty character, and they have that fully represented right here. I like the fact that her mask has the smile through it. I think that's really cute. She comes with a decent amount of stuff, like a syringe and the saw, as well as some chocolates, and another faceplate right there. It's pretty interesting looking. It's definitely unique, and I think she's got a great character design. So this is good. I like it. But if anything, I hope this means that we'll get more Skullgirls characters in the future. I don't think I'm supposed to find this Nezuko faceplate cute because of the gigantic veins coming out of her head, but I think it's cute. I think this demon form Nezuko is pretty cute. She has some other faceplates as well, which are pretty in line with like the badass side of this Nendoroid. But as far as accessories go, she gets pretty much nothing except for some like effect pieces. One for the kick, and then this pretty nice looking flame effect. I think this piece specifically turned out really well. So yeah, very simple otherwise, but cute looking demon girl. I know this is like none of my business, but I really want to know how many people have bought this. Like, how well is this Iron Mouse Nendoroid going to sell? Because not only, you know, is the fan base very strong for Iron Mouse, but like, this is a really good looking Nendoroid too. She even gets her pizza, and Booby comes with it. I'm sure she like handpicked every single thing about this Nendoroid to make sure it was like perfect for her. And I think she did a good job, right? I've always liked this costume she wears too. I know she has a ton of them at this point, but this one feels very classic. I know it's not her oldest one, but I definitely dig this one a lot. So yeah, great Nendoroid. I think this might be our last one actually, because the next one we're going to talk about is Figma Samus. The only Figma I'm going to talk about today, because it's freaking Samus Aran. The Dread Figma finally went up for pre-order, and I absolutely love it. This is a sick design for Samus. And it's a pretty expensive Figma, right? Figma prices, in my opinion, are terrible. And this one costs 12,500 yen. But after the conversion rate, blah, 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 it's actually not that bad. And in my opinion, this feels like a better deal than the Metroid 3 Figma was, which I love, by the way. I have it, it's behind me somewhere on my shelf, and I think it's beautiful. But this one comes with a whole ass Omega Cannon opened up and everything, a Morph Ball, which looks very good, and if I can find it, you get a like magnetic piece. I forget what that is called for the spider magnet that lets you like cling onto, I guess, your fridge or some magnetic surface and whatever. And I think that's awesome, as this is a very prominent power-up in the game. But even if it didn't come with anything, I think just like the model and the way this was painted and all the plastic used here just looks fantastic. I really, really like it. I wasn't going to miss out on a Samus Figma. I regret not even buying the other M one, even though I don't like other M, just because the idea of having a bunch of different suits from the Metroid games sounds really freaking rad. But yeah, I mean, hey, I bought it. Wouldn't blame me if you don't, because it's really expensive, but I also think the price is warranted enough. But hey, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Pre-Order Roundup. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a good time filming it, even though I had to do the entire thing over again, but this process made it a lot easier. So, until next time, I'll see you later, take care, and until then, have a good one. See ya.